And I can't tell you how helpful it is because you need to do it. Because if you do it, you'll know. You'll be like, oh, Alex, thank you. Thank you so much. Because if you're a trader who, quote unquote, you have that feeling like, I know what I'm doing. I'm trade well, but I'm just treading water, or I'm not growing as fast. Maybe I'm profitable, but I'm just going baby profits and you're not sure what it is. But let me tell you what happens when you write a mistakes journal. Welcome back, everyone, to Be the Trader. Today, I have a very special episode. I want to go over how I review stocks, how I document my trades, how I journal them while I'm trading, how do I review them, and go really into detail and share some of that by sharing my screen as well. So if you're listening on the podcast, I appreciate you listening. It's okay. You're still going to get a lot of value. You don't have to see everything, but just know you can go to YouTube and watch and see what I'm showing. By the way, the reason I'm doing this is because a lot of people who've been watching me stream live every day on Twitch have been asking, like, how do I journal and so forth? So I figured, you know what, this could be a really good episode. I'm not saying I'm a great trader at all. You guys know this. I'm working on my own journey consistently working on it. And in fact, I had to take a step back and downsize dramatically to try this new way of trading. And I'm finally getting the hang of it. And you can see me getting the hang of it on Twitch when I trade live. But without that being said, the reason why I started journaling this way is because I hit a rough spot. I was just struggling a little bit and I couldn't figure out why. Like I had consistency, and then all of a sudden for like 2 or 3 months, I was just struggling, where I was just like breaking even, small green, small red, and things weren't really progressing. And it wasn't because I was trading the wrong setups. It wasn't because I wasn't trading like to my plan. I still stick to the plan, but it was because I was making errors. And I wasn't sure about that. Like I was completely lost, and I didn't know the answer until after I took this next step. And I'll explain this next step in a minute. But what I want to explain is the errors I was making. I was making tons of little baby mistakes. And at first, I would talk with my other friend who's a trader, been trading for multiple decades, I think 3 decades. And he'd be like, man, you're doing really well. You're trading really well. You hit the right spots. You look at the right stocks. You see the right setups. And he'd review my trades at the end of the day with me and just kind of have conversations. And he would be like, I'm surprised you're not, where where you think you should be, if you will. But he didn't really have that worry. I did, because, of course, I put pressure on myself just like you do, which I'm learning over time that obviously that's not how you should trade. You should just trade with the flow, have your process, continue, process over profits, right? However, after, multiple months, I was scratching my head. I said, you know what? I hit a moment where I was like, just for like a day, what the hell am I doing? Like, am I a trader? Like, should I be trading? Like, what's going on here? Like, I should be somewhere else. That word should, right? Don't should on yourself. A lot of therapists say that. Don't should on yourself, because you shouldn't. You should be where you are right now, right? Where you are right now is because of what you've done so far and what you've been working on so far. So for that day, I had a little moment of weakness, but then I started meditating a lot longer. Like, you guys know I've been meditating for 10 minutes every day forever. And I started to pick up more of a hypnotherapy where I'm meditating, but with suggestions. And it's about 20 to 30 minutes. And I love this. You have no idea. But that helped me get real clear, because it's a lot longer than 10-minute meditations. I'm doing, the minimum is like 20 minutes to 25 and 30. And it's helped me get more clear on thinking about this different. And it's not different in like, oh my God, this is brand new information. It's different as in helping me see things the way I need to see them, with an unbiased opinion, and just seeing like, oh, this is what you're not doing, Alex. This is what you need to do if you need to take this professionally. And I give a shout out to Brian Lee Trades, because he really focuses on professionalism and trading professionally, right? And try to separate that emotions. And I watched a couple of his episodes where he was talking about this, and I was like, I like what he's saying. So I want to see, what is it that I'm not doing to become more professional? And really, to be quite frank, I wasn't journaling anymore as I should. Like, I was like documenting my trades, but I wasn't taking it seriously. It was just like a task that I started to do because I had to do it. Like, it wasn't serious enough. So now I actually track all my trades like I always do. I take snapshots though now because I kind of got lazy, but now I'm taking snapshots once again of every setup that I'm trading. I'm documenting while I'm in the trade. I'm actually typing. If you're watching me on Twitch, you see me on Twitch. Like I'm typing real quick because I'm typing my plan out. I'm typing my risk. I'm typing where I'm going to get in, why I'm getting in, what kind of play it is to me, where my profit target is, so forth. And then I write down my lessons. Like, what are the mistakes that I'm making when the trade is over? Like, what did I learn from that trade? Whether it's a good trade or a bad trade. And what does that mean? It doesn't mean profits or loss. It means whether I had a good plan or a bad plan, right? Whether I actually had a setup or no setup. And the result doesn't really matter. What really matters to me is, did I trade well? And I've done that before, but one thing that I haven't done, which I actually started implementing, is something I heard Tim Grittani say a long time ago. Like he was on my show way back when he talked about this. And he actually talked about this on his YouTube channel a long time ago when he used to create content. And that was the idea that mistakes, like a mistakes journal. And I started doing that religiously now. And I can't tell you how helpful it is because you need to do it. Because if you do it, you'll know. You'll be like, oh, Alex, thank you. Thank you so much. Because if you're a trader who, quote unquote, you have that feeling like, I know what I'm doing. I'm trade well, but I'm just treading water, or I'm not growing as fast. Maybe I'm profitable, but I'm just going baby profits and you're not sure what it is. But let me tell you what happens when you write a mistakes journal. Every day I update my mistakes journal. And sometimes I have to put tallies on a same mistake, right? And I look at those mistakes every day and I try to work on them. But what's unique is I start to realize, wow, I make a lot of mistakes, even though they might be small ones. Like maybe one day I made a mistake of entering a little too early. Maybe the next day I made a mistake of forcing a trade. Maybe the next day I made a mistake of not sizing in properly or not going in my full size when I should have. Those kind of mistakes, right? But I write them down every day. Or maybe I got lost in the small picture. Maybe I forgot to look at the big picture. But those mistakes add up. And until I started to write them down, I didn't realize how many mistakes I actually make on a daily basis or weekly basis. But focusing in on those, not like not like focusing in with like, oh my God, I'm so mad at myself, but focusing in with the idea of, here's what I can work on. Here's what I can do to improve. Because it's not like the setups are wrong. It's not that the trades are wrong. It's because of these mistakes. And it also depends on where you are in your trading journey. Like where I'm at, that's what I need to focus on. Because Phil Godecker said it best. He's been on my show before. Go watch his episodes. Great trader as well. He said how he really grew his account because he hit a wall. He was doing well, but he said, you know what? Instead of sizing more, let me eliminate mistakes. And he became more profitable. That's what I'm working on. And it's super important because I was scratching my head forever. I was talking to my friend who's, like I said, he's been a trader for a long time. His name's Scott. He's been on the show as well. He's a great guy, great trader. And he was always like, we were always like, we didn't know the answer. I was like, man, why am I not growing growing at the rate that it looks like I should be? And we didn't know, but like we had talks every day. Like sometimes I'd be like, man, I made this mistake. I'll work on it next time. But if you just say that, I would just say those things. Like every day I would say the mistakes I made if I did make one and be like, I'm going to work on that tomorrow. But over time, that mistake kind of disappears from your mind and you forget about it. And then you remember the new mistake that you made. And then that eventually evaporates as well. So you lose track of how many you actually make. And so when I started documenting this, I was like, wow, I made quite a few mistakes. And it might be small mistakes, like mistakes that don't do anything, but it's like an ant. It's like an ant, right? One ant is not a big deal. But if you fall into an ant pile and there's tons of ants, that shit hurts. So that's what it's like. That's why instead of having massive growth or big or decent growth, like really good growth, I'm having little growth, right? But if I can eliminate all those ants, then I can really start to grow. So I'm focusing on those ants, right? I'm focusing on those mistakes, but in a positive way, right? That is important. So I'm looking at every mistake and I'm like, okay, I got out way too soon this time from because I was nervous to take profits. I didn't want to give back profits. So the next tomorrow, I'm going to work on that. And I read that the next day before I trade. And let me show you my screen now about just to show you how I track my trades and the process that I go about this. Let's go ahead and share the screen. So you see here, this is Evernote. And Evernote's very fun. It's free. And you should definitely check this out because you could take snapshots of every trade you've done, put it in here on the right-hand side. You could develop it however you like. This is just my process. And then you could type in whatever you need to track. All I track right now is my plan, my play, and lessons, right? And I end up putting my plan here, getting, for example, this play, LEDX, that I traded on 5/10/21. I got in short, risking near high day because it had a 3-hit fail and was big picture looking weak on the daily and the downtrend line. And this one it looked like it ended up working. Yeah, it ended up working really well. You can see here on the execution. But look what I wrote on the lessons. This was a unique setup. I saw the 3-hit, and when it failed, I thought the big picture downtrend helped, so I got in risking high a day. This was confluence today, although I don't know how it would be, although I don't know how it would have played out if I got in at the open. So I was very honest with myself. Like I wasn't sure if this would have worked at the open because I was actually watching this. I just missed it at the open. I just was looking at other stocks. So the lessons isn't just mistakes, but it's also recognizing, what if scenarios, if this would have happened, if this would happen, and how can I improve on this? So that's something I'm looking at. And you can see here on these tags below, I actually tag the date. I tag the different type of strategy. You name them whenever you want. Like I just make up names. And then you could track those strategies. And then I take this information, like you'll click on another one, PRPO. I traded this one. The play was a trend line crack, and I ended up getting in to show you my risk. I talk about that. And the lesson on this one is decent odds, but not best risk reward. So even though this was a winner, this was not a good trade to me because I ignored risk reward. So I went back to my mistakes. And if you go here, go on the left-hand side, mistakes journal. This shows you mistakes that I've made. This shows you things that I need to work on. And you'll see all kinds of shit. Like there's a lot on here, right? And it's crazy that until you start tracking how many mistakes you made, you'll be uncertain. But I'm so happy about tracking these mistakes because what's going to happen is over time, I will basically see that tracking these mistakes is going to help me. It's going to help me in the future understand what I can work on. So like at the end of the month, I'm going to have a benchmark of mistakes and I'm going to be like, okay, if I made 100 mistakes this month, I want to make less than that. That's all my goal is. And then the next month, I want to make less than that. And the smaller mistakes I make, the more growth I'll have, the more control I'll have. Some of those mistakes, as you saw, if you go back and look, are mistakes that are easy, that we all make, but we just kind of like nonchalant push to the side and say, you know what? I won't do that again. I know I shouldn't do that. Like, how many times have you said that? Like, I know I shouldn't do that. I won't do it again, blah, blah, blah. But you do it anyway. But you don't recognize that how often you do it. And I don't either. And the only thing that's kept me alive and consistent is the fact that I am very good at cutting my stops and making sure that I manage risk. That's the only reason. That's the only reason. And so if I'm doing good there, I need to focus on where I'm not doing good. And that's the mistakes that I'm making. So that's something that's important to me right now that I'm focusing on, because I think if we all focus on the mistakes, which is very unique, because a lot of people would be hearing me say this and they're like, you know what? You shouldn't, focus on what you're good at. Yes, focus on what you're good at. But there's power in understanding where you fault at, your weakness. And I can relate this in any way. And I know you guys can relate to this in your work, in your life. But in my business, my YouTube business, my business where I call Be the Story Creators, where we help other companies grow their social media, their YouTube presence, or whatever it may be through editing, creating video. I don't do that all on my own. I used to, but my strength is communication, is creating content. That's my strength, the creativity side. My buddy, who is an amazing videographer, his strength is videographer, editing. So like you hire people who can help you grow. You focus on, okay, here's my fault. Let me see how I can make it better. Let me focus on that. And my solution at that time was my really good friend, best friend, who took control of that. So with trading, it's the same thing, right? With trading, I was focused on what I was good at, but ignoring what I was bad at. So there was no real growth, right? And so now the show's growing. Be the Trade has been growing. And thank you, all of you, for real. I appreciate each and every one of you for watching the show, for rating the show, for following us, for sharing it. I know you guys and gals have been sharing the show with others. I know you have, because we've been growing. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. And if you haven't yet, like, subscribe. I appreciate that. But what I want you to know is I'm focusing now on my faults in a positive way. You have to listen in a positive way. How can I improve? That's my question. How can I improve? I kept on asking myself that. How can I get better? How can I get better? Mistakes are going to make me better. Because if I can limit those, right? If I can reduce those even by half, then I can increase by maybe half or more in terms of gains. So that's what I'm focusing on. This year in 2021 is my main focus. And if you know this, you follow me on Twitch, you watch me live trade. I used to trade live every day on YouTube Live, but Twitch has this whole rule with affiliates that you can't stream at the exact same time. So I'm doing it on Twitch for now. So make sure to check me on Twitch. But you'll see me. There'll be days where I place like one trade, not until like 2 hours after the open. Maybe I place one trade and then done for the whole day. Maybe place 4. It doesn't matter. All I know is that you'll hear me talking about, okay, like I'm not going to do this one today because this one is not really a good setup, even though it looks good. The risk reward's out there. It's because I'm constantly thinking about the mistakes I've made. The mistakes like ignoring risk reward. Like that happens sometimes. Sometimes I'll see a great setup. You've done it. You see a great setup. Then you get in because the odds are really in your favor. But the risk reward best case scenario is 1-to-1. And what I mean by best case, it means if you literally nail the bottom and sell at the previous resistance, the top, right? Going long, buying low, selling high. If you execute perfectly, you will get 1-to-1. That is, in my opinion, the dumbest thing you could do, because how often do you execute perfectly? I don't know about you, but I don't. And that's why I prefer a bigger risk reward, right? So that way, if it's 3-to-1 and I don't execute perfectly, which I won't, then maybe I'll make 2-to-1, or maybe I'll make 1-to-1. But at least the odds are in my favor because the setup's there and the odds of the risk reward. Does that make sense? I hope it does. I hope this episode has helped you not be afraid to look at your mistakes, not be afraid to see how many mistakes you made. I just share with you my list. And that list, at first I was like, oh, that's embarrassing. There's a lot, but I don't care. I'm not here to push something. I'm here to show you what is helping me grow, helping me stay in this game so we can completely change our lives. Because I want to be the story that my friends and family and grandkids can share with others and look at to be inspired to go and do what they want to do in life. And I want you to be the story for the exact same reason. And I want you to be the trader that you want to be. And the only way you can be that trader is by focusing in on what you're good at and then asking yourself the question, how can I improve, by watching these mistakes and seeing what you can do and how you can improve. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for watching, and be sure, if you can, share the show with someone else and have a great, great day, weekend, weekday, whenever you're watching this. Thanks again. Take care.